So in the previous classes, we have seen how many ways we can identify elements and how many ways we can locate web elements on the web page. So from today, we are going to see how to handle different type of elements, how we can perform different type of actions on the elements. So let us see what are the actions on Playwright is got supported. So every element on the web page, we can do different type of action on that element. And if I just go back and search for Playwright actions and just look at their documentation. So what is an action means a playwright can interact with HTML input elements such as input boxes or check boxes, radio buttons, select options means drop downs, mouse click, okay, type characters and keys means keyboard actions, uploading files, focus on elements. So these are all comes under the different type of actions, so different type of elements we can perform. So they have given some examples how to interact with input, what are the methods are supported, how to interact with the checkboxes and buttons, and drop down options, mouse clicks, and there are many more options are there. So we'll see how we can interact with the elements. So different type of elements. It will take few more sessions and not only one session, but there are so many types of elements are there and different type of methods we can use. It depends on the type of element, and also we do different validations on the elements. Okay, so let us start with go to VS Code editor and I'm going to create new test, new file. I call it as a playwright pw actions dot spec dot ts. Okay, so here to demonstrate these elements, I'm taking a website where you can find all types of elements and you can use it for practice also. And this is our test automation practice blogspot.com. So here different type of elements we can find in one single page. So first let us start with input box and then we will see about how we can handle checkboxes and then radio buttons. So these are different input elements we have. So name, email address, phone number, address, and these are the checkboxes, male and female. And different checkboxes are there here. These are the radio buttons. So at a time we can select only one radio button. And there are multiple checkboxes you can find here. Okay, so let's see how we can uh, interact with them and how we can do different type of actions on these elements. It depends on the requirement. So let's go to VS Code editor and let us start writing the test. So before writing the test, we need to import test, comma, expect, and also locator from at the rate playwright slash test. Right, so we imported required packages and now we'll start writing the first test for input box. So I can say test here, two parameters we need to pass. One is text title and second one is of asynchronous function. So here I can say text input actions and the title is I can say async bracket and here we'll pass a page fixture page and after closing this arrow function. So text input actions comma async open bracket and then page fixture. This is one single bracket arrow function. That's it. Right. So now let's see how we can do different type of actions on the input boxes first. So before that, we need to launch our page. So I can say await page dot go to, and this is the URL of the web page. So this will launch our web page. So now, so before performing some action, let me take first input box. Same thing we can repeat for other box, other input elements also. So first of all, we need to capture this element. And if I inspect this element, And look at this, what are the attributes are there. So we can use either Playwright locators or we can use CSS. So most of the times try to avoid the XPath in Playwright especially, okay? But in Selenium, XPath is mandatory every time we use XPath. But in Playwright locators or you can use CSS. The better options are these are the two options. So here there are different elements are there, class, ID, and placeholder maximum length we cannot use because some other elements also may have same kind of attributes. So let me take this id equal to name. So what is the value of id? Name. So if you want to use id as a css, what is the syntax? Here I can say page dot page dot locator. So how we can use name id hash representing the id, and what is the value of the id? Name is the id. That's it. So this will locate a web element and return the element, return the locator, right? So locator, return the locator. So that we need to store in a variable. Let me create a variable called, I'll hold it in a variable called text box or input box, whatever. I'm just define this as a const. And what is the type of this variable? Obviously that locator will return the locator. So this should be locator. Okay, TypeScript, you have to specify the types also. All right, so now we capture the input box or text box. Now we will perform different actions on this text box. The first action I'm going to do is I want to verify first it is visible or not, enabled or not. We can capture the attributes of the element. And finally, we can fill some data in the element. So these are the common actions we do on the input boxes. So first of all, it is visible or not. How we can verify visibility of the test? Expect direct verification. So expect. So whatever the text box I'm capture, the text box dot to be visible. Expect text box dot to be visible. And before that, so do we require await here? Page dot locator? No, because we are just capturing the locator into variable. Here it is not needed, but here it is needed. You can say await, expect. Here I can say text box dot to be visible, to be visible. So this is a one assertion. So what this will do, this will verify the element is visible or not. If it is visible, the assertion will pass. If it is not visible, assertion is fail. And most of the times we will also verify either disabled or enabled. So suppose if the input box is enabled, then only we will able to pass some text here. Sometimes it will be disabled so that we cannot pass any value into it. Disabled input box, right? So in that case, how we can verify that? So there is another assertion available. I can say await, expect. I will give a list of all assertions as a table so you can easily remember them. Later, I will provide that list. Okay. So await, expect. Again, same text box dot, and to verify it is enabled or disabled, you can simply say dot to be enabled, to be enabled. So to be visible, to be enabled. So to be visible method, this assertion will check the visibility of the element. To be enabled will check enable of the element. And remember, these assertions will work for all kinds of elements, not only specific to input box. You can verify visibility and or enable status for other elements also. Okay, so then what are the things what else we can do on this element? Let's say there are certain attributes are there. I can also verify the attribute value is correct or not. For example, let's say maximum length 15. Placeholder is something enter, something like this. So we can capture the value of the attribute and we can check that value is correct or not, or value is expected or not. So how we can get the attribute of the particular element? So in Playwright also we have a method called get attribute. Okay, get attribute method will capture the attribute of the element, any attribute of the element. Suppose I want to verify the value of the placeholder or the value maximum length of the element. How many characters we can pass in this element? How we will know how many elements maximum we can pass into element? So by seeing this attribute, we will know that information, right? Maximum length 15 means this input box allows us to store only 15 characters. Okay. So that I want to verify the length. Simply what we can do, first we can capture the element, maximum length. Attribute value we need to capture. So to capture the value of the attribute, simply you can say text box dot get attribute. This is the method. And here you can specify what are the attribute value you want to capture. I want to verify the maximum length of the element. Capture this maximum length. So this will actually returns the length, maximum length, the value of the element. Okay. It returns. This is not assertion. Okay. Get attribute is the method through which we can capture the value of the specific attribute. Returns the value of max length attribute of the element. Okay. And we need to store into the variable. Let's say I can say max length. I'm just giving a variable and I can make it as a const. Right. So now what is the type of this variable? Obviously the get attribute method will return a promise and also a string. So the type of this max length is what? String. Will it return this promise get attribute? Yes, it will also return the promise. So here we need to keep await because it is returning the promise. What is declare but its values never read. Okay. Okay, so we will try to use it. So we have captured this element and stored that in a variable. Okay. Now how we can print this? We need to add some assertion on this. So if you want to print, you can use console.log value every time. Okay. So if you want to capture any value into this, you can use console.log. And most of the times, just try to avoid console.log messages because in your automation testing, mostly we will try to add only assertions. So assertion will take care of passed or failed. Finally, you'll get them in the report. Results will be populated in the report. But why we are using console.log? Only for our information. Just I want to see what is actual data coming from the application. If you want to look at the data, you can use console.log just your understanding purpose. But in the real automation test script, try to avoid console.logs because that's no use until if you want to see the data in the console, then you can use it. Otherwise, try to avoid them. Okay. So now we want to verify what is the exact expected value of this maximum length, max length. So now I'm keeping the assertion expect and take this max length and then to be, there is a method called to be method verify the equality, the value, and 15 I'm expecting. Okay, 15 I'm expecting. Something wrong in this. Yeah, it should not be string actually. This should be number. Okay. No, something else. Just a minute. So get attribute method is returning promise null or string. So it's returning either null or string. So we cannot specify the specific thing actually. Okay. Let me keep it number. No string. It should be null or string. Just a second. Let me check it. What is an output it is returning? So if you put the cursor here, it will give you. So you can see it is saying string or null. Either string or it should be null. So that you can specify. Sorry. So this is the one. Maximum length. Remove this colon. Then you will know that. So you can specify either string or null. It is returning. That is a return type. Okay, any also you can specify. Let me just check any. Okay, so any also fine. But if I don't specify anything as per the type inference, it is actually returning string or null. So this is the recommended string or null. Okay. Yeah. So now this is a value. So here do we need await statement here before the expect? But in the above statements, we used await before the expect. Here do we need await statement? Can you guess? Here we don't need. So why? Because two important thing guys. Whenever you are using expect method, in two scenarios you will use. Okay, one is you will use expect along with the element. Okay, along with the element. Sometimes you will use expect along with the value. This is here, it is not element. Max length is a not a element. It is just value. But here the input box or text box are the elements, right? So when I use expect along with element, you have to specify await. Because whenever you say element, definitely you put some assertion here. And these all assertions applied on the elements always returns a promise. Okay, this is a thumb rule. Remember this. Whatever assertion we put on the top of elements here, then they will always return the promise. So definitely use await. But so when you apply any assertion method on the values, not on the elements, won't return any promise. So if I just put to be here, it won't return any promise. It is just returning void. Okay, it is just verifying the comparison. The value of the maximum is 15 or not. That's it. Okay, remember this thumb rule. So whenever you are applying expect method on the elements, definitely it will return the promise. The methods will return the promise. But when I apply the methods, assertion methods on the value itself, they won't return any promise. So await is not needed on this element. Okay. So here, what is the maximum length we are expecting is 15. But these are the few assertions. So we can verify visibility enabled or not, and the value 15 or not, we can verify. So let me run this and then we will check the rest of the things. Yeah, 15 is a string, right? So we need to keep inside the double quote or single quote. Here 15 is a not a number, it should be a string. So we need to keep inside the double quote or single quote. All right. So now let me run this code. Playwright actions dot spec dot ts. Okay, it is trying to execute and it is get passed. So these are the few assertions we can use on the input box. So now what else we can do on the input box? We can pass some text in the input box, right? So how we can pass, what is a method which we have? Fill. Fill is a method. So there is another method called type that is called deprecated. So don't use type. So directly use fill. Text box dot fill. Text box dot fill. And here I'm passing some text. Let's say John Kennedy. I just passed some value into the input box. And again, this is the action method. Fill is an action we are doing on the input box. So definitely return the promise. So we should say await. Okay. So now I have passed some text in the input box. Let us say this is the value I directly passed in the input box. So now again, I want to capture this value. I have already passed the value into the input box. Now the input box contains this value. Now I want to capture this value. How we can capture the value in the input box? So if I inspect this element, do we have any value attribute for this element? Value attribute. No, there is no value attribute. So get attribute method won't work. Text content. So will it work? Text content. Okay, we'll try this text content and see. So in the last class we have seen, right? Text content method will return the text from the text of the element. And here we pass some text in the input box, and let us try to capture it by using text content, and we'll see that. So how to capture this? Await, same text box dot text content I'm using. Okay. So what is the text content method will return? This will return a promise along with the string. So I put await also, and return type is string. So instead of directly, I'm just printing that value. Okay. So I'll say the text content of first name, and then I'm trying to print the text content of the element. I just passed the value into the element, and then immediately I'm trying to get the text content, right? So let us see the how exactly it will work. Will it get text content or not? Now, if I look at the output, assertions are got passed, but we put one console dot log, right? So is it executed or not? Now it is passed. You can see the text content of first name is nothing. It is not displayed anything. Means what? The text content method is not returning the text of the element. But why it is not returned? Text content is nothing but what? For example, after entering the value also, if I inspect this element, do you see the text element, text value, whatever we enter, do we see that in HTML? In HTML, do we see that value anywhere in the HTML for that element? No, right? Because it is not displayed on this DOM, so that text content method cannot get that value, cannot return that value, or cannot capture that value. Okay. Okay. So for example, if I inspect the label, for example, it's a name. So here it is displaying. So this will able to return the text content. So inner text, whichever inner text, that inner text we can capture using a text content. Okay. But how can we get this value? Is there any other way we have? Yes. So whenever you want to capture the value which is already entered in the input box, we can capture it by using input value method. Okay. So this won't work. This will returns empty. Okay. There is no value here. So this won't work for us. But how we can capture the value? Input value. So the same method I'm trying to use text content of the, it is not text content. I can call it as an input value. Okay. Whatever value we provided, that is called input value of the first name. Await text box dot, instead of using text content dot input value. This is the method we have to use. So input value method is also returning the promise and string. So this will return actual value. So returns the input value of text box. So this is the right method to use. So text content method always return an inner text of the element. Whereas input value method will be return the value of the particular element. So whatever value we have provided into that element will be returned. So now we can see that input value of the first name is John Kennedy. Okay, so this is input value. And again, I want to verify that input value is correct or not. Assertion I want to keep on this value, input value. So then you can add one more assertion. Expect. So whatever the input value we capture. So if I want to store this input value, you can create another variable also. So what I'll do is I will try to separate this in another variable because I want to reuse it multiple times. Input value. So that I'm going to store in a variable. I can say entered value. And what is this type? Entered value. So let me make it as a const. And what is the type of this variable is obviously string, defined as a string. So now this enter value, I can directly print it here. And now I want to put an assertion also. So expect entered value dot to be, right? So comparison to be, and whatever value we provided here, that value should be exactly same. And do we need await statement here? No. Why? Because the entered value is what? It's a value. So we are applying the assertion method on the value. So in that case, we no need to use await here. Okay. So this is how we can do. So if you want to pass your script sometime, if you want to see on the UI, I can put one timeout. I can say await page dot wait for time. It is just like a thread dot sleep. In Java, we have a method, right? Thread dot sleep. It will just pause the execution for some time. It is similar to that. Wait for timeout. And let's wait for 3 seconds so that we will able to see the values are got entered or not. Right. Now let me run in headed mode. Okay, now you can see the values got entered in the name. Closed. So this is how we can do different actions on the input box or text box element. So we have seen how we can disable visibility, enable test, and then we can capture the value of any attribute and we just verify the value and we can fill the data and we can capture the data which is already filled inside the input box. So these are the different actions and assertions we can use on the input element. Okay. So now we will move to the next element. So first element what I'm discussed is which is called text input, which is also called as a text box or which is called as an input box, whichever you want. So basically it accepts the text value. So now let us move on to the next element, the radio buttons, how we can handle radio buttons. So if I look at the documentation, we'll see radio buttons and actions. I can say Playwright actions. So the text to input, we have done it. So now go back to the checkboxes and radio buttons. So when you work with the checkboxes and radio buttons, the methods are exactly same. So we can use a method called check to select the radio button or checkbox. Both the elements having same method, check method we can use. And to verify whether the checkbox or radio button is already selected or not, if you want to verify, to be checked, this is the method. So check is a method through which we can select the checkbox or radio button. To be checked is a assertion method through which we can verify checkbox or radio button is selected or not. Simple. So check handling checkboxes and radio buttons are exactly same. These are the only methods we have. But in case of radio button, in case of checkboxes, suppose the checkbox is already selected, but I want to unselect. Then you can use uncheck method. So they have not given in this list, but there is another method called uncheck method is also there. Check and uncheck. So if the radio button or checkbox is not selected, then you can use check method to select the checkbox or radio button. If it is already selected, then we can use uncheck method to unselect the checkbox or radio button. Okay, this is the methods are available. So let us see the practical example how we can handle radio buttons. Then I will also show you checkboxes. So for that, what I'm going to do is I will try to create another test method. So this is one test we created for input boxes validation. Similarly, I will try to create another test in the same file. We can have n number of tests in one single TS file. So here I will try to demonstrate radio buttons. So here I'm trying to change the title. Title should not be the same. Okay, remember this. Every test title should be different. So here I'm trying to change the title of the test. Let's say radio button actions. And again, I'm trying to use the same URL and then try to remove this code for now. Just I removed this. Okay. Now, so we'll see how we can run, how we can do actions on the radio button. So here again, if I go back to the same page, I have two radio buttons, gender, so male or female. At time, we can select only one radio button. But in case of checkboxes, we can select multiple options, multiple checkboxes at a time we can select. But in the radio buttons, we can select only one at a time. We cannot select multiple radio buttons. Okay, so first of all, let me take one single radio button and then we will see what are the actions we can do. So when you refresh the page, so first I want to capture this male radio button. So when I inspect this radio button, and there are some attributes. You can see ID is there, name, type, values. There are multiple attributes are there. Okay, so here I'm taking again ID mail using hash. So how we can get this using CSS page dot locator and here hash mail. I'm using ID to capture the element mail. So this I'm capturing into the variable. I can say const. I call it as a mail radio. This is also a locator, right? So now I capture this element into this variable. So this is a mail radio button I captured. So this is mail radio button. Okay, now we'll apply different assertions on this element. The first assertion, visibility we can verify. So we verify the visible or not, right? So enable or not. So these methods we can also use it for radio buttons also because every element they are applicable. So await, expect. So whatever the radio button we have captured, provide that radio button element dot to be visible. So this assertion will verify whether that element is visible or not. Similarly, enable or not also we can verify. Enable, expect mail order button to be visible dot to be enabled. To be enabled. So these two methods are common for almost every element. So to be visible, to be element. Another important thing, I want to verify this checkbox is already checked or not. Already checked or not. Okay, by default, it is not checked actually, right? By default, it is not checked. I want to just verify whether it's checked or not. So for that, we use another type of assertion. Say await, expect, mail radio button. Here we have a method await, expect. Okay, so we will write an expert later. So we have to use one method here first. Take this element, okay, mail radio button dot is checked. This is how we need to use method is checked. So this is checked is a conditional method. So this will return either true or false. So Boolean value will be returned true or false. Means what? A Boolean. So the is checked method is not assertion method. It is just it will just return true or false. If it is written true means that radio button is what selected, already checked. But if written false means the radio button is not checked or not selected. That is the meaning of this. So obviously this will return true or false. So how we can add assertion for this? We can use one as expect here directly. Expect of, right? Await. Here I can say await mail reader button is checked and put the bracket like this. Okay, this is whole thing I keep inside one single bracket. Okay, this will actually returns true or false. So what is there inside the bracket now? Value or element? Value or element? Which one we have in this bracket? The final output. It should be value. Okay, because this mail data button dot is checked. So is check method will return a promise also. So that's the reason I put await here. So this will actually returns the value. It can be true or false. Now we need to compare with our expected value. So to be what we are expecting here, true or false? We are expecting false, right? Because by default, the check or the radio button is not selected. It is empty. It is not selected. So obviously this should pass because when I say false, I'm expecting false. So is checked method will return false means what? That is not selected. Okay. Now three assertions I kept it here. Now we'll see how it is going to work. Right. So when I execute this .ts file, how many tests we have written inside the TS? How many tests we have so far written? 2 tests. So when I run the TS file by default, whatever the test we have executed, whatever test we have specified, all the tests will be executed. Okay, so for example, let's say I'm running this .ts file. So currently we have a 2 tests. So if I look at the output here, 2 tests are getting executing. 2 tests are executing now. But even though we have a multiple test, I want to execute only specific test. So that is possible in the Playwright. See, it is executing my first test, and after that it is trying to execute the second test. Now both are got passed. So every time I don't want to run all the test. So how we can configure it? So I want to run only this particular test. So in that case, you can use one annotation here, test dot only. Test dot only. If I pass this option, which is called as annotation in Playwright, we can call them as annotation. There are multiple annotations are there. I will discuss about annotation in next other sessions. Separate session we have only on annotations concept. For now, just remember this. Only one single annotation I'm introducing. So what this annotation will do? This will execute only this particular test. So the first one will not execute now. So now let me run the test again. Clear. It will run only the test, only one test. See this? Only one test. It is trying to, what is the test? Read a button action. So this is a test name. So if you have a multiple tests in one single file, you no need to execute all the test every time. So whichever test you want to execute, you can specify this annotation. Okay. So far what we have done, we have verified the visibility, enabled or not, or it is checked or not, right? So what else we can do? How we can check this radio button? I want to select the radio button. Then how we can do that? So let me take the same radio button, mail radio button dot check. This is a method. So this check is an action method. So definitely it will return promise. So use await. So this is a method will select the radio button. This will select radio button. Okay. So after selection of the radio button, again, one more time, I will try to use this assertion. Will it return true or false? It is written should be true. It should return true because we already selected here. After selection, definitely is checked method to be true, right? So execute one more time. Fast. So this is executed. So previously it was false. Now it is becomes true. So suppose I just don't want to get this value is checked true or not. So I don't want to get the Boolean value. So there is another method to verify the checked status. Okay. So what is another assertion we can use is this is alternative. The first one is a second one is alternative. So instead of directly getting the checked status, I will directly pass the radio button here. And instead of to be true, I can directly use assertion method to be checked. This is the direct method. So this is mostly preferable. Okay. Capture the radio button element and verify it is checked or not. So to be checked is a assertion method. It will return the promise. So definitely we use await here. So here we are just verifying the Boolean value with another Boolean value. We are comparing. But here we are not comparing anything actually. If we are just getting the mail reader button, which we already identified and verifying the to be checked or not. Okay. So this is the alternative method. Both are same, but this is the actual assertion. Directly if you want to assert radio button, you can use this to be checked. So both are correct. At a time, we can select only one radio button. So we can apply the same thing for other radio buttons if are available in the web page. Okay, now it is get passed. So the second method is always preferable. So the first method, if you want to just return true or false, then you can use is checked method and compare with the true. But if you don't want to return anything, you just directly want to verify it is checked or not, you can just go with the second approach. This is a preferable always. Okay. So this is all about radio buttons. So now we will look at the checkboxes, which is important because in checkboxes we can do various types of actions because we have multiple checkboxes are here. Let us see how we can handle the checkboxes. Let me write another test method. And so here I'm just removing only. I'll keep it here. Okay, because next time I want to run only this one, new test. So this is checkbox actions. Checkbox actions. And remove this code. All right. So now how we can handle the checkbox. So we can do different actions on the checkboxes. I will show you one by one. Let us see. So first one, there are how many checkboxes are there? There are 7 checkboxes are there. Now I want to select a specific checkbox. I want to select a specific one single checkbox. Okay, so how we can select the specific checkbox? And if I inspect this element, there are some labels also there. So there is a label is there. So can we get this element using label? Playwright locator, get by label method is there, right? Can we use that? Yes. For every element, there is a label here. So by using label, we can get that element. So what I'll do is I will capture one element first. I want to capture this Sunday, the first element using label. This time I try to use label instead of using CSS. So what is my first requirement? Select a specific checkbox. Select a specific checkbox, which is Sunday, using get by label, and we need to asset that. So how we can get it? I can say page dot get by label. So we don't need to use locator method. So when I use Playwright locators directly, you can use that method. You can call that method get by label. And what is the label of the Sunday? What is the label for Sunday? This is the element. Sorry. Inspect this label, not the checkbox. Label you have to inspect. So this is the label Sunday. So just pass here. Page dot get by label Sunday. And this will return the locator. So I can call this a Sunday checkbox. And this is const. And again, type of this element is obviously locator. This is locator type. Okay. Now we capture the checkbox element using label. Now I want to select the checkbox. How to select? Sunday checkbox dot check. Same method. So whatever method we use for radio button, exactly same method. This will check the checkbox. And again, this check method is an action. So this will also return the promise. Let us use await. So this will check the prompt. It will select the checkbox. After selection, I want to verify whether it is selected or not. Then how we can verify? Expect, pass this element, dot, what is the method? The radio button, same method we use, to be checked. To be checked. This is the method. Simple. Okay, so we can capture the label of this checkbox element, select that element, checkbox element, select it, and then verify it is selected or not. Simple. Now execute. So I'm running only this particular text checkbox actions. So it is executing still. One test is executing. Passed. Okay, so because we put 3 seconds wait time here, it is taking some more time. So let's run in headed mode. Okay, now you can see Sundays got selected. Perfect. So we have captured the particular checkbox element using label, and we have selected the checkbox, and then we verified whether it is got selected or not. Okay, this is one scenario. Now, my requirement is I want to select all the checkboxes. I want to select all the checkboxes, whatever they have provided. So then how we can verify that, how we can select them, all the checkboxes. So to select all the checkboxes, there are multiple ways we can do that. Uh, Normally, if I use CSS locator, right, or XPath, you can capture these all elements, all the checkboxes. We can write simple XPath, which is matching with all the checkboxes, or you can write one CSS, which is matching with all the checkboxes, and grab them into a variable. Then you can write a looping statement and repeat one by one and select each and every checkbox. So that is one option which we have. And the other option is we can store all these names, whatever labels are there, we will store them in single array. And based on that label, we can capture the element and then we will select. There are multiple ways we have. Okay. So what I will do is I will just show you one approach, select all checkboxes, and I want to asset each check, like each checkbox is selected or not. So let's say this one. Select all checkboxes, asset each. Whenever you select the checkbox, immediately I want to verify what is selected or not. So let us try with the looping statement first. So first of all, we need to capture all the checkboxes. We need to capture all the checkboxes. How to capture the checkboxes? If I look at these checkboxes, each and every checkbox is having their own properties. So to get all the checkboxes, I will write something here. Let's say const, I'm creating one array. So what array contains, I will maintain all the labels in single array. For example, let's say Sunday. I will keep all the labels in single variable. Just look at this. This is a one of the way. So I maintain all the labels in a array. So what is this days? The days is basically an array, string type of an array. It's a string type of an array, right? These are just the labels, not exact input or not exact checkboxes. These are the labels. Now, when I pass a label here, we are able to get the checkbox. Similarly, by using all these labels, we need to capture all the checkboxes. First one, second, third, fourth, and every checkbox. By using these labels, we need to capture every checkbox. Okay, so I will tell you simple logic here, and you guys can tell me how we can solve that. Because in TypeScript, we have already discussed this concept. You should be remember that. Let's say this is my array. This is my array. I have different labels here. Let's say Sunday, Monday, and so on. I have different labels. Now my requirement here is I want to capture every label like this. And that label I will pass into the getLabel method. So I'll use getLabel method. I will pass this into getLabel method. So this will return the checkbox. This will return the actual checkbox element. Similarly, I will capture the second element, apply the getLabel method, and it return another checkbox. Take another label, apply same getLabel method, and return the another checkbox. For every label, after applying the getLabel method, it will return the checkbox. If I look at this, whatever elements are there in the original array, in the target also, we have the same number of elements, but here these are the just elements, but here these are the checkbox elements. And this is exactly matching with this. This is exactly matching this. Suppose here 5 labels are there. In the target array also, I need 5 labels. But what is the difference between these two? Before applying getLabel method, these are the values. After applying the getLabel method, we will get actual checkboxes. So what kind of method we can use here? How we can solve this? We have to use something called map structure, map. In the TypeScript, we have understood about map. Everybody's remember this. What map will do? map. It will take every element on this original array, apply certain condition. Here, what is the condition? Applying this method, get label method. After applying the condition, the result again will be stored in the target array. Okay. So every element applies certain condition and the outcome will be stored in target array. The original array contains only labels. The target array contains only checkboxes, right? So this particular logic we will try to apply here. The map. Look at this. So I have captured all the labels in a array called days. Now I want to write how we can capture them using map. So how to write a map here? So let me take days. Days is what? Array name. Dot map. I'm using a map method. So what are the parameters map will do? Index will take, right? So index is a variable. And arrow function I'm directly writing. So because we have a single statement in the arrow function, that is whatever the checkbox is, whatever here, page dot, inside this arrow function, page dot, get by label I'm using, and inside this label, I will pass this index. This is a syntax map. So I'm taking the map from the days array, days, this is array name dot map. This is a syntax. You have to remember this, okay? Array name dot map, index, only index parameter I'm taking, index arrow, and here the page dot get label, I'm passing this index here, right? So every time this will return, this will execute multiple times for every element. Index is representing Sunday, next time Monday, next time Tuesday, next time Wednesday. So how many values we have in this array? Those many number of times this will repeat because it's a map. So after that, what this will return finally? This will return target array. Checkboxes it will return, right? We have passed the labels and it return the checkboxes in the form of an array, So I'm creating another variable const checkboxes equal to. Now what is this checkboxes? Checkboxes is also an array. But what type of an array it is? Locator type of an array. This is locator type of an array. Locator and bracket. So understand the difference between this one and this one. Here we are just storing the labels in the form of strings. So that's the reason the days array is a string array. But here, after applying this map on this array, it is returning the labels of, it is returning the checkbox of every label which is provided in the array. So the checkbox in the sense what? The locator. That's the reason the checkboxes is basically an array of locators. Means which contains the checkboxes now, right? So now we want to find how many checkboxes are there. How we can find? Just I want to assert that. So number of checkboxes. I'm expecting number of checkboxes should be 7. Should be 7. Then how we can find? How we can find length of an array? Length method is there, not count. Count is different. We use it for strings. Here, how we can find number of elements in array? Length, right? So directly write an expect method. Expect checkboxes dot length. This will return length of a checkboxes. Dot to be comparison. To be how many? 7. 7 I'm expecting. So do we need await here? No, because this is a value actually. Checkboxes dot length return the value. So that value should be equal to 7. So this will return an integer value, number value. So it should not put single quote here. If the value is a string, then we have to put this is also string. But if the value is a number, then it should not put a single or double quotes. It is a number, purely number. Okay. So this is how we can verify the number of checkboxes. We can pass the labels and get all the checkboxes into variable. Then we can verify the size, how many variables are there. Okay. So this is how we can capture. This is one option which we have. This is second one. Now, the third one. I want to select all the checkboxes now. So here we have captured all the checkboxes, but we haven't selected any one also. So we need to select them. So I want to select all the checkboxes. I want to select all the checkboxes. Third one. So here we just captured only checkboxes and we find out how many are there, but we haven't selected any checkbox. So we want to select them. So to select all the checkboxes, we need to iterate. So we need to read each and every checkboxes one by one, and then we will apply check method. So you have to use a loop statement. Loop. So which loop is preferable here? From the checkbox, I want to capture each and every checkbox one after another. We can use for off loop. For off. When I say for in, again you have to use index. So without index, if you want to capture the value directly, use off. So here I'm defining a variable called, let's say, const checkbox of checkboxes, like this. So now what will happen? From all checkboxes, first he will get the first checkbox into variable. And now take that variable dot check. Select the checkbox. That's it. Simple logic. So second time it will capture another checkbox and again it will check. Third time another checkbox and again it will check. So once this loop is completed, all the checkboxes will be automatically selected. Okay, because we already selected one checkbox here. Even except the checkbox, rest of all checkboxes will be selected. So for now, what I will do is I will just comment these two statements. Now let us execute and see whether it is selecting all the checkboxes or not. I'm running in headed mode so that we will able to see whether it is selecting all the values or not. Okay. Yeah, it is returning some error. So checkbox dot check. Okay, it is check is action. So it is returning the promise actually. So you can see waiting for get by label. It is returning the promise, but we haven't specified the promise here. Let us add await. Okay, now I'm running my headed mode one more time. Just notice, yes, you can see all the checkboxes have been selected and then closed. Right, so this is an approach. If you want to select one specific checkbox, so get the checkbox using a label, then select it and verify that. And if you want to capture all the checkboxes, then go with this approach. You can put them in the array, and by using map, you can capture all the checkboxes and we can find out. And if you want to select all checkboxes, here we just capture the checkboxes we haven't selected. Here we selected. And now I want to add one assertion here. As soon as you selected the checkbox, you check the checkbox. I want to verify that checkbox is got selected or not immediately. As soon as you check it, I want to verify that. Simple add one await inside the looping itself. Await checkbox dot. We already use check, right? So await expect. I'll cover all the scenarios. Just hold on. Okay. How to select specific checkbox randomly, how we can select. I'll cover all the scenarios. I'm just coming one by one. Await, expect, and whatever checkbox here we have already checked, pass it. Now, how we can verify it is checked or not? What is the method? To be checked. This is the assertion. So we immediately, as soon as we check the checkbox, immediately I'm verifying it is checked or not. So for every checkbox, this assertion is applicable now because we put inside the loop. So for every checkbox, this assertion is applicable, right? So just run in normal mode. Okay, now it is get passed. So this is how we can capture all the checkboxes, and then we can select them, and then we can add as a should to them. Okay, this is the one. Now, the next scenario I'm going to show you. Third one is over. Fourth one. Suppose I have a multiple checkboxes are here. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 checkboxes are there. Now I want to select last three checkboxes. Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Only last three checkboxes I want to select like this. Last three checkboxes. So how we can select them? Next requirement. Select the last three checkboxes, and also I want to add one assertion. See, we already have an array. Checkbox is an array which contains all the checkboxes. So you have to tell me something here. I'll ask. Let us say I have an array. This is array we already created, which contains all the checkbox locators, right? Index will start from what? 0, 1, 2, 3, 4, and so on. Now I want to capture the last three elements. Last three elements I want to capture. How we can capture? So the last three elements. So there is a method called slice. Do you guys remember? In JavaScript, slice. Yes. In the slice, we can pass the negative. Suppose I say slice method will take single parameter or two parameters. There are two flavors of slice method is there. Okay. Suppose when I say slice here, 0, comma 2 I say. So 0, 1, 2 will be returned. Three elements will be returned. When I say starting index and ending index, this is one flavor of slice method. Another flavor is we can pass single value. Let's say 3 I passed. What does it mean? From 0 to 3, all three elements will be returned. When I pass slice of 5, so 0 to 5, all elements will be returned. Okay, this is another flavor of slice method. Next one, we can also pass negative number. Let's say I pass something, let's say -3. Then what will happen? It will return three elements from the last, from the end, right? So if you don't specify negative value, let's say slice of 3, then first three values will be returned. The last three values means why say -3. So negative index also it is allowed. So to capture the last three elements, we use a slice method. Okay, this is the use case. Slice method we can use. So let me try to use it in our loop. So here again, we need to use looping statement itself along with the slice method. So I'm writing another for loop. Const checkbox of. So from the checkboxes, I don't, same loop again. So let me copy this. No change, a slight change. So as usual, this looping statement will return each and every checkbox one by one, and we selected it and we verified whether it's selected or not. But this time I don't want to get all the checkboxes. I want to get only last three checkboxes. So here we will use that method. Dot slice of -3. That's it. Last three checkboxes. So now it will filter here itself. So it will return only three checkboxes, last three. So first checkbox will store here and it will perform the action. Now second checkbox will come here, perform the action. Now third checkbox, perform the action. And those three checkboxes will be captured from the end of an array, from the last. Okay. So here the checkbox, let me just enable this loop. And what this loop will do, it will check all the checkboxes. All 7 checkboxes will be selected. But here I want to unselect some checkboxes. Here all 7 checkboxes are selected. Among those 7 checkboxes, last 3 checkboxes I want to unselect, uncheck. Then instead of using check method, here I will try to use uncheck. Okay, uncheck. So exactly opposite I'm doing. Here I'm selecting all the checkboxes one by one and selecting it. All seven checkboxes are selected after completion of this loop. Among those seven checkboxes, by default, are selected like this. After that, I want to unselect last three checkboxes, means Saturday, Friday, Thursday. So the outcome will be like this. So here I'm doing it. And how we can do validation. So this is unchecked, but how we can verify that checkbox is unchecked or not? So here we verified the checkbox is checked or not. We can verify using to be checked method. But how we can verify the negative, like how it is verify unchecked or not? So will this method work? To be checked. So to be checked verify is a positive method. It is checked or not, it will check. But here I want to verify whether it is unchecked or not. Here we verified checked or not, but here we want to verify unchecked or not. Exactly opposite of this. So how we can do that? We can use simple one operator here, not. Okay, for every assertion method, you can use this not as a negation. For example, let's say, go back to the previous one. Okay, just go back to the previous one. I'll just go here. So here I'm verifying to be visible, but I want to verify it should not be visible. I want to verify not to be visible, opposite. Then what we can do, we can use not dot to be visible. For every assertion method, you can add not. It's a negative condition, negative case. Okay. For every, suppose it's I'm verifying to be enabled. So this assertion false. If this assertion will pass only if the element is enabled. But I want to verify the element should be disabled. Then you can say not dot negation. So for every assertion, we can use not operator. So if I come back here, same thing, I'm doing it. So here we are verifying all checkboxes we selected. Immediately I'm verifying checked or not. But here I want to verify it is unchecked or not. Simple, use not operator. Okay. So this is the way. So here we selected all seven checkboxes, but among those seven checkboxes, only I'm unselecting only last three checkboxes. I'm selecting last three checkboxes, right? So let's execute in headed mode. Let me just increase the timeout 5 seconds so that we will able to see clearly. Hyphen headed mode I'm running. Okay, just first look at this. First, it will select all checkboxes, 7 selected, but last three checkboxes unselected. Now it is got closed. Okay, so this is how we can achieve this. Last three checkboxes we have selected. Perfect. So now let's move on to the next one. My requirement is some checkboxes, let us say randomly, I selected something, randomly some of them not selected. So my requirement is I want to unselect whatever checkboxes are already selected. The next one is I want to select the checkbox whichever not selected. So whatever checkbox is already selected, I want to unselect like this. Whatever checkboxes are unselected, then I want to select only those checkboxes. So combinations of two requirements. Select the checkboxes which are not selected and unselect the checkboxes which are already selected. Okay. So let us see how we can achieve this. So the next requirement. This is important scenario. Fifth one. Toggle checkboxes. If checked, you need to uncheck. If unchecked, you need to check. And again, we need to apply the assertion for every state, for checked or unchecked. Okay, so this is the example. So let me write a looping statement again. So again, we have to use same kind of a loop. Let me use this. Also, okay, let it be there. So now continuation. So from all checkboxes, I'm selecting each and every checkbox one by one. So before checking the checkbox and before verifying the checkbox is checked or not, So when we need to execute these two statements, when it is applicable, if the checkbox is unselected, then these two are applicable. If the checkbox is unselected, then I can select this and we can verify it is checked or not. So these two statements are applicable only. So applicable, these two statements execute only if checked. Okay, if not checked. So only if checkboxes are not checked, then only we will execute these two statements. For example, if the checkboxes are checked, then if checkboxes are checked, so then what we need to execute? These are the two statements we have to execute. Right? So these two statements are applicable if the checkboxes are not checked or not selected. And these two statements are applicable if the radio checkboxes are already selected. Because if already selected, we need to uncheck and verify that. If it is not selected, then select it and verify that. So these are the statements we will execute if not checked. And these two statements will be executed if checked. Right? But now we need to put one condition. So how we can put this condition? So before executing these two statements, we need to verify the checkbox is checked or not. If it is checked, then we need to execute these two statements. If it is not checked, then we will execute these two statements. Okay, I'll keep inside the bottom like this. Now, how we can put the condition here? These two statements I will execute only if checked. Only if checked. So before executing these two statements, either these two or these two, first we need to know the status of the checkbox, whether it is already selected or not. So we need to put one if condition. If the checkbox dot, how we will check? Is it checked or not? Is checked is a method. Is checked. This will return true or false. So this will return promise. I can say await. Okay, so this is a condition. If the checkbox is checked, it is returning true. Means what are the statements we want to execute? This one or this one? If it is already true, if it is written true, then we need to execute these two statements. If it is a true, then we will execute these statements. You can keep this here. You can keep inside the bracket. This is the one. Okay. If the checkbox is written true, if this statement is written true, then we have to execute. Sorry. If it is checked written true, means it is already checked. So we need to execute these two statements here. Else, we will execute these two statements. Else, keep it here. So this is how we need to achieve this task. So if the checkboxes is selected, if it returns true, then it will uncheck the checkbox and then verify it. If it is return false, then else block will be executed. Return false means what? They have not checked. So we have to check it and we have to verify it is checked or not. Okay. So if condition closed, else block is closed, and also for loop we need to close. Sorry, it is already closed. This is a closing of the for loop. Okay. So this is our requirement. Let's go and execute now. So what I will do is I will keep wait statement in multiple places so that we can see the exact thing, what exactly is happening. So first time after selecting all the checkboxes, I will keep some wait, 2 seconds. We can see that clearly. After unchecking 3 checkboxes also, I have wait here. Let me wait 3 seconds here. And after that, based on the condition, right, it will verify. So here also I will put some time. Let's say 3 seconds. Okay, now let me execute. Control C. I'm running in headed mode so that we can clearly see that. Right. So first it will check all the checkboxes. Now last 3 checkboxes should be unselected. Now opposite, whatever is selected, they are unselected, and whatever is unselected, they have selected. All the looping statements are successfully executed. Okay. So this is how we can do that. This is one type of requirement. Now, the next requirement, the last one, how we can select random checkboxes randomly. For example, let's say I have 7 like this. I want to select randomly. Means what? Monday, Thursday, Monday, Saturday, like that. So whichever checkboxes you want to select randomly, you can select. So simple logic we can apply. Use something called index. Okay, we need to use something called index. So using index, we can do that. Randomly select checkboxes. Okay, so randomly means we can specify what checkboxes, what are the checkboxes we want to select. Let's say 136 I want to select. 136 I want to select. So 136 are the indexes. So you can create one array with these indexes 136. Let us say I'm creating one array const indexes equal to 1, 3, 6. Now these are the 3 checkboxes I want to select. So 1, 3, 6. These are the 3 checkboxes I want to select. So 133, 1, 2, 136 representing as an index. Remember that. Okay. Now I will write one for loop here. For loop here. And inside this, just a second. So inside the for loop, I will create one variable const I. I'm using again of indexes. Okay, just observe carefully. So indexes is basically an array. It is an array. Indexes is basically an array. So by default, it is an array. So number type of an array. So if you want to create this, you can say number and 2 brackets. Because even if you don't specify that, based on this type of data, because of type inference, it is considered as an array. So I can specify explicitly, you can write a type also. So indexes is what? An array. And what this indexes contains 136 indexes values. Now what I'm doing is from the indexes, the first value I'm taking into I. So what is the current value of I? 1, 1, right? So here, checkboxes we have already captured here. All checkboxes we have already captured and stored them in a variable. So I'm referring that. So from all checkboxes is basically what? An array itself, right? Checkboxes of I. This will return the checkbox whichever is having in this location. And that I want to check. Selected. And after that, you can add one assertion. So how we can verify assertion? To be checked. So this is the one. Instead of to be not, it simply say to be checked. But the thing is, here we have checked the same checkbox, and that also we need to specify here. Same checkbox to be checked. So this is applicable for only first checkbox in the first iteration. Now in the second iteration, the 3 will come into I. Now third checkbox will be selected and it will assert. In the next round, 6 will be stored in I. Now sixth checkbox will be selected and it will be asserted. So 1, 3, 6, 3 checkboxes will be selected and then it will be asserted. So this is how we can achieve this. By using random numbers, by passing some array, we can do that. Okay. So this is another requirement. So let's try and execute. 136. Finally, only 136 checkboxes should be selected. So all selected first loop. Only first 4 selected. Last 3 eliminated with second loop. This is selected unselected scenario. Yes. Now it is get failed because the check function again returns a promise. So we should keep await here. Await. Control C. Execute one more time.
Selected everything. This is the first loop. Now this is the second loop. Third loop, randomly selected. This is again another loop. Yes. So this is going to select only 136. Only 136. Okay. So let me just uncomment the previous loops so that we can clearly see what exactly happening. Comment this. Even fourth scenario. Comment this. And even fifth scenario also I'm commenting. And this is a sixth one. This is the one we want to. So now all checkboxes are by default not selected. So only 136 checkboxes should be selected. Only 136. I think it is closed. Went very faster. So I will try to put this timeout. 5 seconds. Yes. So as per the index, right? So 136 means index will start from 0. So 0 is not considered. So 136 is got selected. Okay. So this is how we can work with the checkboxes. Okay. So now I have one more requirement. For example, in these checkboxes, I will pass one label. Okay. Among these 7, I will pass only one single label as an input. And based on this label, I will select the required checkbox. Suppose I pass Saturday, only Saturday checkbox should be selected. If I take input as a Tuesday, then only Tuesday checkbox should be selected, like that. So select the checkbox based on the value. Select the checkbox based on the value. The next requirement, 7th. Select the checkbox based on the label. And that value, that label I will pass as an input. Okay. So let's say I'm taking one const variable, week name I'm taking. Week name is a parameter. Let's say Friday. This is my input. So based on this value, I want to select the particular a particular checkbox. So how we can do that? Again, let's say this value is dynamically changing. So this is value is not constant. Whichever label I passed, it should go and select that particular checkbox. Okay, so let me show you how we can do this. Here we have to use a logic. Let's say for we have already taken the first scenario. We have already taken the days label. All the labels we have stored in one single array. The first requirement, I guess, here. See, we have stored all the labels in first an array, right? So days. So you need to take that variable which contains all the labels. So take this variable days. From the days, read each and every label one by one. So I'm creating one variable const. I call it as a label. So from the days, okay, const label of days. So from the days, what is the days? Days is an array. From the days, read each and every label into this variable. After reading the days into this variable, then we need to verify. So this label is matching with this or not. So how we can verify? If condition. That take this label. Okay, how we can compare this? And exact value and data type. Both I want to compare. Triple equal to label equal to. So whatever the label we have given here, week name, that compare with that. If both are equal, then what we should do? We should go and get that radio button, get the checkbox and then select. So based on the label we want to get. So page dot. So what is the method? Page dot get label. Here I'm writing get label. See, we need await here. No. So await is not needed. So if the page dot get label, so whatever label we provided here, that you need to pass. Get by label. Okay. So from the days contains all the labels. I'm returning one label here, compare with this expected label. And if both are equal, then go and get the element. And what is this actually? We are not checking directly here. We are just comparing the label. Based on the label, if the condition is matched, then get the checkbox. So this is actually checkbox. This is our checkbox. And again, I make it as a const. Now we need to select this checkbox. So checkbox dot, what's the method? Check. This is going to select the checkbox. And again, add verification, await, expect the checkbox dot to be checked, to be checked. So if the label name is exactly equal to this, our weak name, whatever we provided here, then you do this. Otherwise, no. Okay. For example, sometimes these labels will be in uppercase characters or lowercase characters or mixed characters. But in whichever way or whichever format they have created, I want to match with them. So what you can do, convert everything into lowercase. So what I'm doing here, I'm converting this label into lowercase. How we can convert this label into lowercase? String. What is a method available? To lowercase. Okay, so to lowercase. This is a method. So label dot to lowercase equal to, I will welcome. This is also I want to convert into lowercase, weak name also. So welcome weak name dot to lowercase. So there is no problem in case future you can provide any characters, mixed characters, lower, upper, whichever way you want to provide. Finally, it will convert everything into lowercase and then compare. Okay. So after that, here the page dot get by label, and then here we need to pass a label. So page, what is given? Cannot find name page. What is why it is not able to find page? So I think we have commented somewhere. Checkboxes. So this is a page, right? So we are trying to access that page. This is done. Okay, this is done. This is done. This is also commented. Days and page is not retrieving, cannot find name days. Okay, we will try to redefine because this variable, the days variable we created here, but somehow it is not able to access it. Yeah, 127, where it is 127 closed. Yeah. We should not close this actually because these are all related to checkboxes. Okay. Right. So now we need to close it here. All right. So let's execute and see. So test only. I'm just remove this. Okay. Test only. We need to execute only checkboxes. So let it be there. 7th. Yeah. So I'm taking the week name as an input, and then I'm taking each and every day as a label, converting into this, and then get the checkbox based on the label and selected and checked. So this loop, this condition is applicable only when the week name, whatever we provided, is matching with the actual label. Okay, so let's go and execute. Now this time it should select Friday, only Friday element. One of the loop is enabled. Okay, now Friday is got selected, but I think another loop is opened here. So this loop, comment this also. So keep this wait statement here and then run one more time. Yeah, now the only Friday is got selected. So this is how we can also select a specific checkbox based upon certain condition. Okay, so I hope all the scenarios I've covered. So how to select all the checkboxes, how to select a specific checkboxes, or how to select a specific one single checkbox, and how to select the last two checkboxes or last three checkboxes, and how we can select randomly checkboxes by using indexing. So these are all different scenarios you can try. Okay. So this is all about checkboxes concept. So we have seen how to handle input box, radio buttons, and then checkboxes. In the next class, we will see about how we can handle drop downs and different type of drop downs, select box, single select, multi select, bootstrap select, drop down. There are various things are there. In the next class, we will discuss that. Okay. So you can try this once, and once it is done, you have an assignment. You guys can try this assignment and go to this page. Okay, so in this page, you can find input boxes. You can take one input box. It can be first name, last name, whatever you want. And take this radio buttons also, male, female, other. So there are three radio buttons are there. You can try to handle this. And hobbies, there are multiple checkboxes are there. So you can try to handle them. So whatever scenarios I've told you in our session, try to simulate the same kind of scenarios on input boxes and radio buttons and check boxes. So just leave other elements, don't try, because we haven't discussed anything. This is country drop down is different. Other elements are different. Only try to focus on input box, radio buttons, and checkbox. So I'll give you description here. What are the tasks you need to do on the first name? What are the tasks you need to do on gender? And what are the tasks you need to do on the hobbies? So just try these three for now. Tomorrow we will continue further. Okay. So that's all for today's session. We will continue tomorrow's session.